Hey, if you are thinking about moving to the Charlotte region, there are a lot of options to choose from, and it can be a little bit overwhelming, actually. And so in this video, I'm going to talk about some of the towns in the area here that are really growing in popularity. So if you're new to this channel, my name is Chris Phillis. I'm a real estate agent here in North and South Carolina, and I help people just like you navigate this process and figure out where the best place for you to move to is, and help you with every aspect of that. So put your comments below. I'd love to hear from you, and let's get into it here. All right, so today I want to talk to you about a few towns. They are just outside of the city of Charlotte, or Charlotte proper, if you will, and then the southern part of the region here. In these four towns, it's Weddington, Waxhaw, Wesley Chapel, and Marvin. I'm going to kind of group them all together. Four different towns. It's actually not that many. There's only about 60,000 people that live in all of these four towns combined. Compare that to Charlotte, where there's 900,000+ people. So it's a pretty small group of the population that lives here. And I'm going to group them all together because they're very similar, essentially. And so if we're looking for homes for somebody in these areas, it's likely that we're going to be looking in all of these little towns. So to give you some reference here, Charlotte, I always like to reference the 485 loop because it is just a good reference point. If you look at the map, Charlotte, uptown or downtown Charlotte is right in the middle, and there's a circle around Charlotte. It's the 485 loop. It's very convenient, helps you get wherever you need to go. It's also a good reference point. So these towns are just outside of that loop on the south end. You have Marvin to the west, Weddington, Waxhaw is going to be the furthest south, and Wesley Chapel kind of tucked in there in the middle on the eastern side. So that's the location of this here. And it's a pretty good, the 485 loop, there's a lot of people who are moving, to or within the area. And, they may say, hey, Chris, it needs to be inside the 485 loop. And that's often due to commute time. So your commute time is different if you're outside of the loop, depending on how far out, etc. And I'll cover all these things in just a second. So, why are people moving to these towns? The three biggest things are you have really top-rated schools. Top-rated schools is probably the number one reason. You also have lower crime rates. You also have nice, big, newer houses, a larger lot. So the median age of a house in this area is 2005. So pretty new. 25 years ago, it was all farmland. And as Charlotte has developed and the population continued to grow, people kind of are expanding out. Pretty straightforward, but historically, that sort of trend has really gone to the south. South Charlotte is really the premium real estate, prime real estate, and then they've kind of migrated, further south, outside this 485 loop, and then also too into Fort Mill, South Carolina. So if you're not familiar, Charlotte, we sit right on the border of South Carolina. So these southern towns that I'm talking about today, if you just a short drive west, you are in South Carolina, right along the right next to Fort Mill, South Carolina, and Rock Hill. And so you have newer homes, you have larger homes, they're on larger lots as well. And so you're really getting quite a bit. You can live in a 4,000+ square foot home. The size of these homes go all the way up to 10,000 square feet. So kind of think it's going to be a little bit more rural and very large, homes, and newer homes as well. So you're going to get, all these things in these areas. I want to touch on the schools real quick, because even if you're not in the market for a home in a certain school district, or your schools are just not important, they're not relevant, it's kind of, a lot of real estate does tie in with schools. And so it is really a focal point for a lot of people. There are 4 different school districts, down in these towns. The main one being, or the top rated one is Marvin Ridge, is like a 10 out of 10 basically. And so the most expensive real estate is going to be in that Marvin Ridge area. Now that town of Marvin is like 10,000 people or less, there, but that's going to be the top rated one. The next one, you have Weddington High School. Marvin, I think, is the number 2 ranked school in high school in the state. Weddington, I think, is 4th. So very highly rated schools. You also have Cuthbertson, that is also a highly ranked school, and then Parkwood is going to be the furthest south. They're still like a 7 out of 10. So just you have, really top rated schools, in this region, basically. Now the crime rate, I don't want to quote you specific crime rates. If you look at niche.com, Waxhaw is the largest of these towns, and so they kind of show up on those statistic, websites. I think they show up as a B+, which was a little surprising. I thought they would be an A, at least an A-. So you have violent crime, you have property crime rates. So there's all different types of crime. Crime is everywhere, but overall, this is going to be among the lowest in the region and the state, basically. So this is kind of thought of as like among the safest areas and, you know, best neighborhoods, so to speak. You know, going back to the homes, you're going to get larger homes, a private, you know, more private lots, you know, usually like a half an acre plus size lot. You know, the median size home is like 3,300 square feet, built in 2005 or newer. A lot of new development happening over here, a lot of newer subdivisions. So that's the other, you know, big plus there. In terms of amenities, access to things, you have not a whole lot. It's going to be much different than it is living closer into Uptown or South End or Plaza Midwood or Noda. It's a lot different. You know, Waxhaw does have a downtown, but it's not like this, like big, it's tiny. It's a 1 mile stretch downtown. It feels like you're traveling back in time a little bit. It's got a lot of historical things that they keep there. There's a railroad station there, and I think there's a bridge. I was forgetting the details on that, but basically it's a small old town. So you do have that. There's a couple little spots. You're gonna have a sports bar, an Irish pub, coffee spots, and a few things like that. But if you need to go do things like retail shopping, well, you're gonna go, I mean, Valentine is gonna be the closest to you. It's just a little bit, it's about 20 minutes north, close to that 485 loop. It's like just outside of the 485 loop. So you have Valentine Village, Blakeney, Waverly, you know, you got Piper Glen up that way. You've got like a lot of retail shopping, a lot of corporate franchise type food restaurants. If you're looking for that boutique and a lot more, you know, several more options, you really are gonna need to go to those like South End and Uptown and Plaza and Noda. You know, that's gonna be quite a bit further. So if you need or want to do that on like a daily or a couple times a week, you know, it's gonna be pretty challenging if you're living, you know, that far south. So definitely sort of two really different, you know, areas when we're talking about, you know, those neighborhoods versus like the Weddington, Waxhaw stuff. All right, so now in terms of other amenities, you're a little bit further away from the lakes here. So we have two big lakes and a small lake. We have Lake Norman way up north. That's gonna be the largest, and then Lake Wylie, which is in South Carolina and North Carolina. All this is on the western portion of the region. And in the middle, we have Mountain Island Lake, very tiny lake. Now down here in these towns, you're further away. You're like 30 minutes away from Lake Wylie, roughly. And the big park there is Cane Creek Park, and it does have a lake, but it's really tiny. I mean, it's 375 acres. I don't know the size of Lake Norman, but it's not even close in terms of size. It's like, it's much, much smaller. You can still go, you know, rent kayaks and paddle boards, and, you know, they have a public beach there at Cane Creek as well. So that's really fun to do. They have hiking trails. I think there's like 7 miles of hiking trails there. So that's a plus. Now it's also there are a lot of families that live in the area. So sports teams, organizations, you're gonna have a lot of that. So that is all gonna be accessible. It is very sort of family oriented in that aspect. So you have these great schools, you have low crime rate, safe neighborhoods, you have all these things, and a lot of, you know, young kids are doing sports there. So you have all of that there. It's the other amenities that you know, the nightlife, the restaurants, you know, breweries and bars. I mean, there are a few of those there down in Waxhaw, but it's not really close to what's available in the other parts of, you know, Charlotte. So the lakes, like I mentioned, the cost of living, all right, if you look online and you see, hey, what does it cost to live in Charlotte versus these towns like Weddington, Waxhaw, it will look like it's a higher cost of living relative to Charlotte. It's yes and no. I mean, you have to look at the details on that. You got to remember, Charlotte is much bigger. Charlotte is 900,000 plus people that live there. There's a lot of different little parts of Charlotte. And so yes, the median price is going to be lower. The average will be a little bit lower than what it is in these other towns. However, if you really stack up and you said, hey, I want a 4,000 square foot house in a top rated school district with the low crime rate, with a newer house and a big lot, and you want all those things, well, the price of that is going to be much higher in Charlotte than it would be in these towns. And so you definitely get more value by moving to these towns, and that's what people have been doing. Exactly why they've been moving there is because they get way more value, you know. So the prices, apples to apples, is less versus, you know, if you were to find that in a South Charlotte neighborhood, you know, you would be quite a bit higher. I mean, double, if not more in a lot of cases. So that is kind of, you know, how to look at that part of it. You know, you could look at some other details, like the sales tax is a little bit lower in Union County. So these towns are in Union County, which is Charlotte is in Mecklenburg County, but it's pretty negligible. I think it's a couple $100 a year maybe in sales tax differences. It's like 0.5% lower. The property taxes are a little bit lower as well in these towns, with the exception of if you live within the city of Waxhaw. In that case, they're actually higher. So now our property taxes here in the Carolinas are really much lower than they are in the Northeast, or if you're coming from some of these other states. So, you know, it's 0.76. It's like, so $760 per $100,000 of a tax assessed value is what we pay in Mecklenburg County. And then it's not too much different for these other counties. All right, so I kind of really touched on why people are moving here, all the pros, the benefits, what you're getting. Now, the con, the negative here is really, it's the commute. The commute's a challenge. It's a real challenge. Now, it's a challenge from a commuting standpoint, no matter where you are in Charlotte. That's just the reality of it because there's so many people moving here. Now, the Waxhaw Weddington area, you're outside the 485 loop, and it's the real drawback, basically, in terms of, is it going to be a place that's going to be actually doable for you or not? So to give you an idea, so Weddington's going to be the furthest north and closest to that 485 loop. To get to the airport, the Charlotte Douglas International Airport, which is on the west side of Charlotte, it's about a 30 to 45 minute commute time, depending on the time of day that you go. To get to South Park from Weddington, you are between 18 minutes and 45 minutes, depending on the time of day. South Park is just south of Uptown, and there are a lot of corporate offices in that area. And so depending on the time of day, that's what you're looking at. To get to Uptown, you are anywhere from 30 minutes to 1 hour to get to Uptown. So it really does vary quite a bit depending on the time of day that you're going. Now, if you're in Waxhaw, which is further south, you're gonna add at least 15 minutes to those drive times. And so the reason for that too is if you look at the map, you'll see Route 16 and it's 2 lanes. So you have all of these people in that area that need to take Route 16 to get in and out. There's really not many options, if any options, to get, take back roads and things like that. Now, if you're going to Fort Mill or Rock Hill to the west, or Monroe is to the east, it's gonna be a lot easier. Now, the airport, as I mentioned, is the main international airport. There is also a regional airport in Monroe, and they do daily flights. Delta and American Airlines do daily flights to Atlanta and then Dallas and Fort Worth, Texas. So that's awesome. If you have that set up, this is like the place for you, because it's only like it's 10 miles away to the east, and there's like probably no traffic, I'm assuming. And so that's, certainly, something to consider if that's what you do for work, is travel to those cities. So, all right, the home prices. All right, so what does it cost to live in these towns, Chris? Let's get to it. All right, so the prices. Now, I broke these prices down based off of the assigned high school, not just the town. So the towns, these are very small towns. And so you'll have, one school district may have maybe pulling from 4 or 5 different towns, depending on which one it is. All right, so the most expensive one is Marvin Ridge, and the median price for a single family home, it's which is a 5-bedroom, 4-bath, 4,200 square feet property, built in 2005, 1.125 million. It's a 0.6 acre lot, and those homes are selling at roughly 29 days on the market. So it's a pretty good pace, basically, for home sales. The next, you have Weddington. So Weddington, now what's interesting about Weddington is how many towns are pulled in and go to that Weddington High School. So you have a small portion of Indian Trail, small portion of Matthews, small portion of Monroe, and then you also have Waxhaw, Weddington, and Wesley Chapel. So all of those different towns are going to pull into that Weddington High School. So just kind of be aware of that, if you're looking online and you see the town and you're not sure which high school, it's just that's how that is down there. All right, so the median right now for Weddington is 4-bedroom, 4-bath, 3,500 square feet, built in 2006. And the median price is $860,000. And that's for a 0.7 acre lot, so a little bit bigger, and 20 days on market. So they're selling a little bit faster there. All right, next you have Cuthbertson. These are 4 different high schools I'm going to go over. So the third here is Cuthbertson High School. Single family median property is 5-bedroom, 4-bath, 3,300 square feet, built in 2009. Median price $722,000. A little bit smaller lots, 0.35 of an acre lot, and those are selling at 27 days on the market. All right, the last one here, further south, is Parkwood. The median is 3 beds, bedrooms, 3 bath, 2,100 square feet, so much smaller. Also built in 2005. Now the price, $475,000. So the price is substantially lower down there, and this is the furthest south part of these towns here. So largest lots though, you have almost a full acre, and those are selling in 22 days on average. So we have a lot of options here. This is just one part of the region here. And so yeah, I hope this was helpful. As always, thank you for watching. Put your questions and comments below. And until then, I'll see you on the next video.